But yeah, a lot of people were saying Jack Catterall should be undisputed champion right now.
Clear unanimous decision victory. I definitely think Catterall could have actually stopped Prograis in that 9th round.
He's just a fighter that has such an awkward style. He's going to give a good run for his money against any of the champions within the weight class.
He himself said, I want a title shot next.
He went on Twitter after his victory and he said, "Hello, Teofimo Lopez." Moving to Regis Prograis, he made it clear that he's going to bare knuckles.
We'll see Regis Prograis in bare knuckle boxing. He'll say, let me take on Pero Angulo in there.
Also, Austin Trout.
You can have Bryce Hall in there too with him.
Oh my God.
Let's switch over to the influencer side, right? We finally got the announcement of one of the biggest fights in influencer boxing. It's in Qatar. It's called the Supercard.
Salt Papi against King Kenny. I really think it's a make or break fight for either fighter.
I really want to talk about the return of Deji, man. And the fact they don't even have an opponent for him.
I think Deji's going to go for a little low ball.
Welcome back to another episode of the Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. In today's episode, we'll be going over Jack Catterall's UD win over Regis Prograis, as well as breaking down and giving our thoughts on the Quatar Supercard for Misfits coming up in November. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. Everything boxing related, if you guys want to get in contact and touch with us, best way to do so is by joining our server. Everything that I mentioned is in the link in the description below. But now diving into the episode, first thing on the list is the win for Jack Catterall over Regis Prograis this past weekend. Jack Catterall was coming off a UD win over former undisputed 140 champion Josh Taylor and took on Regis Prograis, who has not been in the very best form. As we all know, he's coming off his terrible performance against Devin Haney back in December of last year. So this was a big matchup for Regis as a way for him to make a statement to show the boxing world, hey, I'm still here. I'm still able to become perhaps a 3-time world champion. And for Jack Catterall, it was a way of him getting a name in his resume and to further push the agenda that he deserves another world title shot.
Yeah, this was for Jack Catterall. This was a stepping stone. No one really expected Prograis to put up much of a fight. Everyone was expecting Jack Catterall is the next world champion contender. And that's basically what we saw. It was a clear unanimous decision victory. Jack Catterall got a couple knockdowns in there as well. And now Eddie Hearns and the whole public basically is pushing for Jack Catterall to get a chance at a championship in 2025.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, just that statement alone. I mean, there's like 2 names that I can think of off the top of my head. Teofimo Lopez. Oh, that would be such a tremendous fight between him and Catterall. Or maybe even seeing a possibility with him against a Devin Haney. Because, Regis has fought both of the... Jack and Devin Haney now. So it'd be interesting just to see where Jack Catterall is within the rankings of that weight division.
Well, Jack Catterall he went on Twitter after his victory and he said, "Hello, Teofimo Lopez." So it looks like...
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, it looks like he's pushing for a Teofimo Lopez championship fight. So maybe he's the next challenger.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Jack Catterall is ranked in the top 5 in all 4 sanctioning bodies. More notably in the WBC, WBO, he's ranked in the top 2. He's number 2 for both. And then you have Alberto Puello, while Devin Haney is a champion in recess at the moment for that belt. And then WBO, of course, we got Teofimo Lopez. And I saw a lot of people online saying, okay, what's next for Jack Catterall? Who would he match up best against, according to the champions at 140? And a lot of people, surprisingly, were giving him a slight edge over Teofimo Lopez, just based on the style that he brings. As we saw against this Regis Prograis fight. To be honest, early on in the fight, it was competitive. not much really even happened.
It was boring.
Yes.
It was boring.
A lot of people online were hating on it. They're
Yeah.
saying this fight sucks. And then, there was a couple of knockdowns in there. Prograis was able to knock down Jack Catterall on the 5th. Many people were claiming Catterall was off balance, wasn't hurt, but it's still officially ruled as a knockdown. But then Jack Catterall came back in the 9th round and dropped him. Regardless of that, point is, people were claiming it was boring, but also the style that Catterall brings. He fights on the back foot a lot, just trying to. He's also southpaw. That's what gives Teofimo Lopez some trouble when it comes to fighting southpaws. When you saw against Sander Martin did beautiful against Teofimo Lopez fighting on the back foot, and people were giving Jack Catterall the slight edge over Teofimo Lopez if they were able to match them up.
Yeah, this is true. I think for sure stylistically, Jack Catterall is a harder fight for Teofimo Lopez. The one thing, though, is in this fight with Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis, I actually was expecting a little bit more from Catterall, especially in those early rounds. I mean, Regis Prograis, in like the first half of the fight, was able to get back into it. He was landing some good shots, landing some good left hands, and he was pressuring Catterall, although it wasn't that smart, right? He was kind of rushing at him at some points. But Catterall kind of didn't seem to know what to do, and I felt there was a lot of instances where if Prograis was a little bit of a better fighter, he could have capitalized a lot. So, I don't know. Prograis, I wasn't blown away from this performance.
Well, yeah, actually, to be honest, I remember we gave our predictions last week, and we were expecting a little bit more from Jack. Even though my official prediction was it was going to be a split. And to be honest, I think the best way that I would describe this fight would be it was a scrappy fight. And it was a scrappy fight until it wasn't a scrappy fight. And that's when Jack Catterall's skills, experience, and just his warrior mentality being a more, what do you call it? So going for the belt, like a serious contender. Like he made sure like that's what he is. Like that is the category that he is. He's separating. Because I would say this fight against Devin Haney was a make or break fight. Because if not Devin Haney, Regis Prograis would have won, then he would be a possible contender to fight for a belt now. Now since Jack won, now he's one of the guys.
Well, yeah, Catterall, like you're right. I was also expecting huge things from Catterall. He looked great against Josh Taylor in the rematch, a lot better than he did in the first fight. And so I was expecting him to carry on that form that he brought in for the Josh Taylor to the Regis Prograis. And I was also counting out Prograis because, he's been in 2 bad fights, Zorio and Devin Haney. And I was all like, he's not the same Prograis who was in his prime. I think Jack Catterall is going to take it. And we got a bit more competitive fight early on. And also, I was a bit disappointed in how Catterall really went in with that fight. And I think one big thing I didn't take into notice when I made my prediction last week was the levels. Shit on Devin Haney all you want, but Devin Haney compared to Prograis to Catterall is in a different level. He's a higher level fighter, and he's a world elite fighter. Compared to Quatar and Prograis, who are great fighters. They're solid, especially Catterall now, as he's coming up to become a contender someday, maybe sometime in 2025. But he's not at that level of elite status that you would see, your Teofimo Lopez, your Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, even Ryan Garcia is in there, Rayo Valenzuela. He's not up there yet. And so that's what I didn't take into consideration for my predictions last week, which is why I guess I hyped up, or I just thought Catterall was at a level that was significantly higher than Prograis, but this past weekend didn't show it.
Well, I think there's a couple of things there. Firstly, I definitely think Catterall could have actually stopped Prograis in that 9th round. He had him hurt bad. He knocked him down twice in that round, and Prograis was on shaky legs. And as we know, Catterall isn't a big puncher. That's the first thing. And he also doesn't really have that killer instinct where, he's a great finisher. If you were to categorize Jack Catterall, the first thing that you would mention, it's not the first thing you would mention him as a great finisher. So he didn't stop him. And another thing, I feel like we underestimated Prograis as well, because former world champion, he obviously is at the low of his career. And after this, loss, I mean, it's even worse. And there was a little bit of talk of retiring from boxing. But he's still a scrappy guy. I mean, he's still tough. He came into the fight, like, not to lose. You know, he wasn't just going to roll over and let Catterall use him as a stepping stone. He did his best. Obviously, it was not enough. And the second half of the fight kind of proved that. But I just feel, I don't know, Prograis performed a lot better than I thought he was going to do. And Catterall, he was able to defeat him and was able to make adjustments. But I don't know if that performance is going to be enough when it comes to the elite at the 140.
You don't think so? To be honest, I truly do believe, because he's just a fighter that has such an awkward style, and he doesn't really go for the finish. He doesn't go for, not to say that he doesn't have the killer instinct, but it's just that it's not within his style. I mean, you said it yourself, and I truly do believe this. In the 9th round, he could have done a lot more damage or possibly even stopped the fight, but that's not how it went, and because it's based on his style. Like, that's just how he is. I mean, look, he gave such a tremendous fight to Josh Taylor, and I mean, it's just so weird. Like, he's gonna give such a good fight, or he's gonna give a good run for his money against any of the elite fighters. You know, all the champions within the weight class.
Yeah, well, this is one thing. That style that you say that he doesn't really go for the finish, it could actually play in his favor, especially with Teofimo Lopez, like we were talking about. I mean, Teofimo Lopez, his style is like very come forward and trying to exchange. But when he encounters a style that like tries to box him and trying to go, uses the whole ring, he kind of doesn't know what to do. He's like super confused with that style. Like he really isn't good when it comes to fighters that use movement and fighters that try to box him with jabs and move around, very slick fighters. He performs his worst. So I think that's why Jack Catterall called out Teofimo Lopez, because I think he knows that his style is one of the worst styles that can compete against Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, and actually another point to add to that is that I believe the only opponent that's ever dropped Lopez is a guy who was a southpaw, and that was Sander Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got dropped early on in his career too, Teofimo.
Oh, he did?
He's been dropped. I mean, Cambosa's dropped him too, bro.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's been dropped multiple times, so it's not a rare occasion.
But like Sander Martin, a guy who doesn't even really have that much of a punching power, he dropped him easily.
Well, neither Cambosa's. Cambosa's don't got.
Campos is a bigger puncher than Sander Martin. I mean, Sander Martin is like...
That's true.
Yeah,
he's
that's true. And I feel like Cambosis, he timed that perfectly as well. That right hand, boom.
Yeah, but I think for sure, I mean, it was a big surprise when Sander Martin knocked down Teofimo Lopez. Not because Teofimo Lopez is, he doesn't get knocked down or anything, but it's because Sander Martin, like...
He's
like
a
8
boxer.
Knockouts. Yeah, he's a boxer. He doesn't like have power puncher. He doesn't have hands of stone. So that's why it was very surprising. And we saw against Jermaine Ortiz as well. I mean, that was a very boring fight. But Jermaine Ortiz stuck to his game plan of trying to use the whole ring against Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez did not look good in that fight. So,
and he was also a southpaw too.
Yeah.
Ortiz.
So maybe Catterall is going to try to recreate that. Let's see if he has enough success.
Yeah, if I was Eddie Hearn, he's had a bad string of losses recently in the past couple months, or probably even the past year. So if anything, he's banking on maybe getting that Teofimo Lopez fight. But also Teofimo Lopez, he's was disputes with Top Rank, so hence why he's not fighting, or he hasn't been fighting.
He's been very inactive recently. I feel like he hasn't really.
It's because I think they're claiming that Teofimo and his team are claiming that they're no longer part with Top Rank. But then Bob Aram said like, but they signed. They said blah blah. It's a whole litigation type of stuff that they're dealing with based on their contract with each other. I don't know all the details. I just know that they're having disputes. Hence why Teofimo hasn't fought. Also, he had the chance to fight Brian Norman Jr. like a month or so ago at 147, but Teofimo Lopez said, it's on a Thursday. Nah, I only do Saturday fights.
Oh, yeah.
So that was another big talking point, that he, quote-unquote, ducked the Brian Norman Jr. at 147. And now Brian Norman Jr. is at a very bad case of his career when it comes to the whole him and Boots. But regardless of that, yeah, Teofimo Lopez, if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd be itching or trying to get a fight for Jack Catterall against Teofimo based on what we see from Teofimo. And we've said it before. Even before his fight against Jermaine Ortiz, he's he does not know how to deal with slick boxers who move around like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what career route they decide to take Jack Catterall in, because now he's at a point where he himself said, I want a title shot next. And I think he does deserve one.
Yeah.
He does deserve one. See what he's got at that elite level. I mean, you got a wide variety of different champions at 140. So, I mean, pinning them up against the perfect style would be Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion. But either way, I'm pretty sure he'd be happy with whichever champion he gets, as long as he gets his deserved title shot.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a ton of, exactly, like, there's a ton of champions. I mean, Puello, no one really knows who Puello is as well. He's a very unknown fighter, and the only reason why he got a world champion status is because he was elevated, because Devin Haney isn't fighting. We also have Rayo Valenzuela, who recently took the belt away from Pitbull, and Pitbull took the belt away from Rolly. So there's like a ton of, there's so much options for Jack Catterall. So he shouldn't limit himself to Teofimo Lopez if he can't get that fight, but I think definitely he does have the skills to compete at the top of 140, especially of how volatile that division is. I mean, the belts are changing every single month. Every couple of months, there's a new champion in the weight class.
Yeah, and if let's be honest for a second, because if I'm not mistaken, when I watched that first fight with him against Josh Taylor, I saw him win that fight.
Yeah.
On replay and during live.
Mhm.
Like, I truly do believe, like, within my scorecards, like, I thought he had won. So in actuality, he should be a champion.
Yeah. That was a big controversy that it was a draw at the end of the day, and it was a draw at the end of the day. So they ran it back, and this time Catterall made it clear that he was the victor. He got that
It
victory.
was split decision.
Oh, really?
Josh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what I was thinking. Split. So, Josh Taylor. But, yeah, a lot of people were saying, Jack Catterall should be undisputed champion right now. I don't know if he would still be undisputed champion as of right now. I mean, it's been a little over 2 years since that first Josh Taylor fight. So, a lot of things would have happened. A lot of mandatories, a lot of title shot, a lot of contender. Devin Haney maybe in there. But it would have been, I don't know, it would have been a whole different landscape of champions at 140 if Jack Catterall would have been champion. So this is kind of crazy. What if situation or fantasy type of timeline that would have happened?
Yeah, and now moving to Regis Prograis, I mean, he made it pretty clear in his post-fight interview that he was going to retire. I mean, he was saying that he can't do 12 rounds anymore and that he's going to bare knuckles. Yeah, crazy career move. I mean, I don't know if it's I mean, I don't know, listen.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I don't think he's going to make the same money and he's going to have the same notoriety in bare knuckle that he does in boxing. But if he wants to go to bare knuckle, hey, go to bare knuckle. I'll watch the fights, if it's entertaining.
Look, look, I did not chuckle because of his potential, different career path. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at because of once he said that, those clips go viral or whatever. You start seeing it on your timeline. And then I was on X and I saw Devin Haney retweet that. And he goes, damn, I really ruined Regis Prograis' career.
I did see that as well.
I was like, I don't know about that.
It's like Devin Haney. I mean, he's just trying to get any type of positive, I don't know, press that he can, But speaking of Devin Haney, I mean, Regis Prograis himself, he talked about Devin Haney, he indirectly talked about him. Regis Prograis said that Jack Catterall was the best fighter that he's ever been in the ring with. And, I mean, he's been in the ring with Josh Taylor. He's been in the ring with Devin Haney, the two biggest names. And he says Jack Catterall is better than both of them. That was kind of crazy to me, personally. And I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, he got off from fighting Devin Haney, who whooped him, who dropped him, and literally made him break an embarrassing world record. Like, there's no way that Devin Haney is not a better fighter than Jack Catterall. But Jack Catterall is a good fighter. He's solid. Like I said, he's a solid contender. But Devin Haney, I mean, for him to say that, it must have been... it's hard to believe it. There's no way that he really believes that, right?
I don't know, man. I mean, right now the consensus in boxing is that Devin Haney is the worst fighter ever. And mainly it's because of the reputation, obviously, after his actions. But, I mean, right now, everyone is saying Devin Haney's weak-chinned, Devin Haney's this, Devin Haney's that. And Jack Catterall right now is at the height of his career. He has so much momentum behind his name. So maybe that's why Regis Prograis said it. I don't know, because I don't agree with it either. I think Devin Haney, honestly, if Haney and Regis Prograis were to fight, I would definitely think Devin Haney would win, just because both of them are boxers, both of them are slick fighters, but Devin Haney is much, much higher quality than Jack Catterall.
Yeah. To be honest, look, I'm still not sure about Devin Haney because he went through a tough fight, his last fight that was ruled a no contest against Ryan Garcia, but he sustained quite a bit of damage. He sustained 3 knockdowns, and so for me, I'm a little bit iffy on that. But in regards to him, Devin Haney fighting Regis Prograis, Jack Catterall, to be honest, I might have the upper hand for Jack Catterall because I truly do believe that he has he is of a world class or a world elite champion, or he should be. Like, I feel like he does have the potential. He does have that momentum, and I think he does have that aura of a world champion. And I truly do believe he should have been a champion against that first fight with Josh. So it didn't happen. It didn't happen, but I still feel like he still possesses that. For me, I do believe that the best fight to be made at 140 would be against Devin Haney and Jack Catterall. But I don't believe that fight's going to be next. I believe, Eddie Hearn and Jack are going to go and take a different route. Maybe, just so Jack can become a world champion.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a ton of question marks on Devin Haney.
Yeah.
He's not even technically a champion. He's a champion in recess now. The thing about him, though, is, I mean, his physical, all the damage that he took physically-wise healed. We don't know about the damage that he took mentally-wise. Did that heal? Is that still lurking there? Because it seems like it is. I mean, usually 90% of the stuff that he talks about is still Ryan Garcia. His father, 90% of the things he still talks about is Ryan Garcia.
You know what's funny is that when victims go through some type of a traumatic stress, it's called PTSD, and they can't stop thinking about that. And I think that's what has happened to Devin Haney.
Yeah, Devin Haney has PTSD confirmed.
Him and his father, Bill.
Yeah, I don't know about Jack Catterall. I don't think he would beat Devin Haney at all. I don't think he beats any of the big named, Teofimo, Valenzuela. Leon Paro would be a good one.
He beats Boyo, for sure.
I don't really know much about Buello to even
Boyo.
make an assumption about that fight. I need to watch more from him. Also more from Leon Paro, even though Leon Paro just he got a fluke win over Matias, but Matias will be back. But so
I don't know about the fluke win, though.
It was very fluke. Matias, I heard he wasn't training. He was just chilling. But no, make Catterall against Rolly.
Yeah, I didn't see Catterall versus Rolly. I saw people matching up Prograis versus Rolly because they're both kind of like in the lows in their career. But yeah, I don't know. Rolly.
Well, I mean, at least Rolly got a win in his last fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, Rolly going back up, man. Rolly going back up. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Jack Catterall does for the rest of his career, or coming into 2025. And I'm interested to see if we'll see Regis Prograis in bare knuckle boxing. Maybe he'll say, let me take on the Pero Angulo in there.
Yeah, Pero Angulo, also Austin Trout.
You can have Bryce Hall in there too with him.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Bryce Hall be fighting there, man. So
yeah, I guess
fought
he does. He fought once.
So you never know. You see Regis Prograis taking on Bryce Hall for the for the was it bare knuckle belt?
Yeah, BKFC champion.
Yeah. Anyways, is there anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to Jack Catterall in his future, or about Regis Prograis?
Yeah, I would say Regis, please don't do bare knuckle. I feel like that is the lowest of any boxer's career. There's no money to be made, and you sustain a lot more damage. There's a lot more cons and pros.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes no sense. I feel so basically he said, I can't do 12 rounds anymore. That's fine. You can still do 10. You can do 8 maybe. I mean, you don't got to go to bare knuckle. I don't think they're paying that well in bare knuckle. But listen, I don't know. I don't know the bag in bare knuckle. But I just feel like it's just the lowest of the lowest. Why are you going to go in there bare knuckle when you can go in there and put some padding around your wrist? There's no winning in bare knuckle. You can't win.
Yeah, plus it seems as though he sustained a leg injury or an ankle injury
Something
in
like
the
that.
11th or in the 12th round.
Yeah.
That's how I knew it was going to be an easy UD for Jack, because Regis just threw a right hand or a left hand and just missed and fell down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he heard it late, like in the championship round. So I mean, it was very.
He can't
late,
do 12.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, but to say, well, you just said that you knew it was gonna be an easy UD win when he hurt his ankle, but then the ankle injury happened very late in the fight. So
Well, yeah, by the 12th, I knew what the scorecards were going to be.
well, yeah, because of the rounds prior to the, not just because of the ankle injury.
Yeah, but I guess going back to my point is that, yeah, Regis, he's already has these injuries. He doesn't. It seems as though he doesn't have that hunger, the Lions mentality, the winner's mentality. So why even go to bare knuckle?
Well, usually, I mean, the boxers that have gone to bare knuckle have been winning. Perangulo won. We also had Austin Trout, I think, won as well.
Bryce Hall, because he was an influencer boxer.
Yeah, he's an influencer boxer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a base in influencer boxing.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, we got I don't know. It'll probably go fine for him because Prograis has always had kind of an awkward style. He hasn't really been like. There's been a lot of critics on him saying he doesn't fight correct, and he makes a ton of mistakes, and he does make a lot of mistakes, but he compensates it with his will and his heart and all this type of stuff and his power. He has great power as well. So honestly, he could be successful in bare knuckle, but I just feel it's so sad seeing these boxers that are like coming to the end of their careers, and then instead of like retiring, they can't get that like fighting out of their body, so they go to like bare knuckle, which is like I just feel it's like the worst of the worst.
Well, let's see what Prograis does. I mean, he said he was going to talk to his team. He is 35 years old. He's on the older side of a fighter's career in terms of age. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides in his future. I'm not sure if he's came out with anything after the fight, a statement saying thanks for the win, thanks for the support.
For the experience.
Yada. Yeah, experience, stuff like that. So we'll see what Prograis says, but based on the post-fight interview, it doesn't seem too clear for him about his future in boxing. But switching over topics now, let's switch over to the influencer side, right? A couple of weeks ago, we finally got the announcement of one of the biggest fights in influencer boxing in the aspect of Gib taking on Slim. And also, like a week or two ago, we finally got the full card being dropped, and it's in Qatar. It's called the Supercard, being dubbed that. And we finally have the main card drop. We have a lot of big names in this card, and people are really hyping it up as saying as this fight card is as good as the one last year in October for the Prime card. With KSI taking on Tommy Fury, Logan Paul, and there Dylan Dennis, and then all the great undercard fights that were in the main card. It was great entertainment last year, but people are claiming this is nearly as identical to it. Besides having your big name personas like KSI on the card. So, I mean, first off, we're going to kick it off with Salt Papi taking on King Kenny. King Kenny, I believe, is coming off a loss, I think, against... I don't think he's fought since last year, has he? I'm not sure. Point is, King Kenny's taking on Salt Papi, who Salt Papi's coming off a win over Ferrari when he headlined his own event over in the UK. And he got the stoppage win over Ferrari after pretty much gassing him out, and then Ferrari refused to get out from the stool. So, Salt Papi, there's been a lot of talk about him. A lot of people, ever since his hype train kind of derailed, and then he lost against not only Anthony Taylor, but also lost against Slim. People just counted him out. And even after his win against Ferrari, they were saying he's not it anymore. Is Salt Papi still worth the hype in the influencer boxing?
If you're going to measure it from the hype when he was coming up, absolutely not. I mean, I remember a lot of people were saying that Salt Papi has the skills to be a professional fighter and he could really be a top contender. That's absolute baloney. That's absolute, nonsense. That hype has been derailed, and it should have been derailed. Now, but if you also look at him and you say, okay, he's gotten 2 losses now, and against Slim, he got stopped and he got knocked out, and you say, oh, okay, so then he was never that good. He's a bum. Well, that's also not true, because Salt Papi actually does have a good amount of skills, especially when you compare him to the average Misfits fighter. There's a reason why Mams Taylor and, Misfits as a promotion continues to back him up, is because he still has a future. He still has a lot of skills. He still has a lot of potential, and he's gotten a couple losses, that's okay. That's fine. In influencer boxing, you can take a couple losses, learn from them, and continue forward. So I definitely think Salt Papi is not finished. And in this fight against King Kenny, I think it's actually a really good fight because King Kenny has a very big name. He's very popular, a lot of fans. But King Kenny is not that good. I don't think King Kenny is that good at all. And I think Salt Papi definitely has enough skills to stop King Kenny. And, get the hype train, get the momentum back around Salt Papi's name.
Okay, so yeah, just for me, just like how I was talking about Devin Haney, I don't know how Devin Haney is going to come back. I really don't know how Salt Papi is going to come back from that loss that he sustained against Slim. That was such a he sustained what was it, two to three knockdowns, Salt Papi. So and he hasn't fought since that loss.
He has.
He fought against Ferrari, bro.
Ferrari, yeah. Okay, yeah, Ferrari.
Oh, I can see. He also had an exhibition on one of those social knockouts, and the ones they have like in Dubai.
Salt Papi?
Yeah, I remember he fought. He got a first round stoppage. He stopped him with the body shot. I forgot about that, but it was just like a side mission for him essentially. But they still counted it as part of his record.
Of course they did.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's fought twice, but Ferrari was the more legitimate fighter.
Yeah, and if I'm gonna be honest, his performance against that opponent wasn't that good, and it wasn't the best. So to be honest, for me, I mean, the way I see this fight, Salt Papi against King Kenny, I really think it's a make or break fight for either fighter. I truly believe whoever wins is going to continue to get that spot or that slot on big influencer cards, big Misfits cards, possibly maybe even headlining their own, whether it's King Kenny or Salt Papi. So I really think it's a make or break fight. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm not sold on Salt Papi, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, I made a mistake. King Kenny has fought ever since his Anthony Taylor lost. He fought back in May against Adam Brooks. Adam Brooks is he's like a dad. He's a dad, but he fought against him. He got the TKO win over him back in May, so he's making his return back against Salt Papi. But you're not sold on Salt Papi?
No.
Why?
I mean, his recent performances he hasn't looked the best. Yeah, his last fight, he sustained a first round TKO against some random nobody, but against Ferrari, he didn't look the best.
True. Also, Ferrari was very aggressive. He's like that very aggressive fighter. It takes you a little bit to maybe adjust to, and also I mean, Salt Papi, he still got the stoppage win over him too in the third round. I mean, he made him quit. Mainly because Ferrari kind of gassed himself out and he started getting whooped, and then he didn't stand up from his stool at the end of the round or at the end of the break. So I think it's a fine win for him, the Ferrari one, just in the aspects of the influencer. Because I mean, if you fight a fighter like Ferrari, who ended up, I guess he ended up fighting MMA after the Misfits or against after the Salt Papi loss, he fought in an MMA show and then won. So he's like a crazy guy, I guess. So he's doing crazy stuff. But in the grand scheme of influencer boxing, a lot of people give Salt Papi some credit for that win just because of the style that Ferrari is. But I think when it comes to also influencer is the name of the fighter. I mean, yeah, he might maybe let's say Ferrari's a lot better fighter than King Kenny or someone like that. But people are going to give him more merit for beating King Kenny than beating Ferrari just because King Kenny is a very solid name, a big fan base he has.
It's basically a popularity contest.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. So that's why a lot of people still give King Kenny. So when, was it you or Rudo who said about the, if whoever loses, won't be able to, headline the show or something like that?
Ooh, Salt Papi and Slim or what?
Yeah, this is a make or break fight.
Oh, yeah,
for either one.
There's some truth into that. It's true. Because, I mean, Salt Papi, I mean, that whole 2 losses already. I mean, a third loss against King Kenny would be detrimental for his career. Also for King Kenny, he's already sustained 3 losses. And, he's he has a lot to prove from those losses. But, I mean, they're big names, especially King Kenny, bro. Like, if he fights in the UK, he can headline still. He's part of, a huge... the Beta Squad, they're massive over there. So if you're a big name, even if you can be 0, look at Deji. Yeah. He went 0-4, man, before he got it lost, but people still rallied behind him because he has a big name. And I think that's all that really matters, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say make or break because it's just, I mean, it's influencer boxing. Maybe in their next fight they won't headline a card, but they're still going to get called back. They're still going to be on a card. They're still going to fight somebody, and they're probably going to fight a lesser opponent to where they can win. You know, let's just move to King Kenny. King Kenny has had even a worse performances than Salt Papi. There's a reason why Salt Papi had a lot of hype. It's because his skills were actually pretty nice. He looked like he belonged. He looked comfortable in there. You know, he beat some boogeyman like Josh Bruckner or whatever. You know, he looked like he had power. He looked comfortable. He looked like people were saying, oh, he's a real professional fighter and all, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, they were exaggerating, like, to the extreme. But with King Kenny, that was never the narrative. And there's a reason for that, because King Kenny was absolutely garbage. I mean, he just throws a couple jabs, and people, like, are expecting him to be like some Floyd Mayweather or something. I don't know. It was insane. So, yeah, King Kenny has, if you're not sold on Salt Papi, I mean, King Kenny is even worse. It's like the bottom of the barrel type of fighter because it's been horrible. His career has not panned out to how the fans hype him up to be.
Look, I definitely understand that. I definitely understand that because, you know, it goes farther back because I would even say both fighters. Just Salt Papi has the experience. You know, he used to be an amateur boxer. He had amateur fights. Or, I mean, he used to train as a boxer before he started doing, you know, those TikTok videos of him, you know, pretending to run or whatever. But I truly believe, like, here's the reasoning behind my argument that I have King Kenny over Salt Papi. Salt Papi hasn't looked the same since his first loss, you know, and I think that theory of mine got confirmed after he lost against Slim, and I haven't really seen that Salt Papi aura since those two losses. And, you know, yes, I understand King Kenny, he makes a ton of mistakes. He isn't the best fighter, but I really do think he has a solid some type of solid fundamentals of boxing. Like, that jab is so, like, it's a pretty good jab.
No, it's horrible. King Kenny is absolutely garbage. I'm gonna be honest, like, bro, what? Yeah, dude, it's bad.
It was King Kenny. My issue with him though is he looks so good. He looks unbeatable. Like, remember when he was fighting on the Kingpin tournament? He beat my mate Nate, and then he beat Wunderson Nunes, and then that Nunes fight is regarded top 5 greatest influencer boxing performances of all time because he just whooped the shit out of Nunes, and Nunes had this big hype around him. But ever since that one, he fought Anthony Taylor. He looked like shit. That fight was boring, of course. I mean, Anthony Taylor, he brought in a very boring style, and then he ended up losing. But even if you look at his other losses, I mean, he lost against Temper, faced Temper in his debut. Faced Temper has gone out, and he's already retired now. You know, his career didn't pan out at all what he was expecting. Then he lost against Ashley Roxu. And then he lost against Anthony Taylor. And what you noticed clearly is that King Kenny struggles so much with people who just pressure you. If he's not able to just stake out the jab or have his own little comfortable range, he's going to crumble. And he's crumbled many times already, which is why Salt Papi, is a more aggressive fighter. But he's more calculated. He's not going to be all reckless diving in there. You know, he's going to do some feints in there, you know, some upper body movement. Cause he's done it before. He was beating Slim before. Because I remember Gabe and Slim were talking. They had a face-to-face. And then Slim was like, oh, I beat Salt Papi. And then Gabe said, no, Salt Papi beat himself. You just got the victory that night. And the narrative that a lot of people are now coming up with is that he beat a dehydrated Salt Papi who was first time fighting at that weight, yada yada. He gassed out because he wasn't used to fighting like at that lower weight that he's at that he was fighting at against Slim. So yeah, people, you know, I guess people, of course, that Slim loss will always be remembered for Salt Papi, but I just don't think that King Kenny carries enough more skills than Salt Papi. I think Salt Papi, IQ and skill-wise, is a better fighter than King Kenny.
I think so, too. I think King Kenny is more like a look-good type of fighter. Like you said, I mean, he looks good, you know. He has that nice stance. He throws a couple jabs. But if you pressure him, he just crumbles, and he doesn't know what to do, and he loses. And, in fact, he stops throwing altogether. He just, like, tries to defend himself, shells up, and just kind of runs around the ring and doesn't really do anything else other than that. That Roxu fight is a clear example of that, so... definitely Salt Papi. I believe it's not even close, honestly. I think Salt Papi's going to easily get the victory, honestly.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see then.
We'll see November 28th, right? Yeah, another one I want to talk about. I guess we won't go through all the cards, or we might go. But I really want to talk about the return of Deji, man. See, Deji has always been the talk in influencer boxing. He's always been the what if fighter. What if he was disciplined? What if he was stuck to the same regime as KSI? What if he would have beaten Jake Paul? What if he does blah blah blah? You know, it's always these what if with Deji. And he hasn't fought since the Floyd Mayweather fight last year. And then I guess even his coach said that Deji wasn't really even training for that fight, of course. Also with Swarms, the fight prior to the Floyd, back in last year in the spring, they said that was Deji at like 70%.
Okay, I just want to say, I'm glad you highlighted this because this has always been the narrative with Deji is that he's never at 100%. He always doesn't train. He's always half-assing his training camps, and he always goes into the fight. Whatever you see on fight day is only 50% of the true potential that Deji has. It's like, buddy, if you can't get enough motivation to go into the ring 100% against Floyd Mayweather and give it your all, who the hell are you going to give 100% motivation to?
Okay.
What, to a random influencer boxer? No. So, like, that narrative has always been like so stupid, and I've never bought it, and I'm surprised people even buy it.
Well, they buy it because they're fanboys. They love Deji, man, and it's because also, it's like he's an OG. I mean, he's an OG to one of the biggest personas in not only influencer boxing but in YouTube history. You know, KSI. He's his younger brother. He built. You know, they've been OGs on YouTube for many years, and OGs, veterans for influencer boxing. Like the pioneers right there. So which is why there's a lot of love for Deji. So he can make a mistake. He can fall down, but people will pick him up and say, Are you good, man? Are you good? You know, give him little kisses, a little Band-Aid, you know, clean his ass, stuff like that. They'll do that. And he can keep doing it, falling over. And he keep making the same mistake, and people will keep on forgiving him. And that's always been the narrative with Deji. And hence why he hasn't returned. I mean, he even had the whole losing weight with KSI challenge, which didn't go as planned for him. He didn't even win the money. I don't think he did.
Yeah, basically the challenge was Deji get a 6-pack, and for $1 million. I mean, does that not motivate you? And then he shows his results. He got like a 2-pack. He lost some weight. Okay, congrats. But the challenge was you get a 6-pack, not a 2-pack, bruh. And then he didn't even win it. So.
No. Yeah. So it's you do make a good point. If you're not gonna be motivated to fight even against Floyd, I mean, who's gonna motivate you, man? You're gonna be motivated if you get a Fuzi rematch. You can get motivated if you fight. I don't know. I mean, there's so much areas for Deji to grow. And now I'm finally starting to see people turn on him, saying, "Oh, they're gonna give him another cherry pick. They're gonna give him another easy fight for him to build up on his career, build up the height, and to keep selling this whole narrative that Deji is, one of the best up and coming fighter or
he's a hidden gem.
He's like the best,
untapped talent.
Yes,
like shut up, bro. What are you talking about?
And the fact they don't even have an opponent for him. Yeah. Supposedly they did have an opponent, but the opponent backed out. I forgot they gave the name. Ma'am Sailor gave out the name. I don't remember his name. I think it was like a fitness guy.
Probably some super bum, honestly.
I think Ma'am said that he didn't think Deji was ready for him. Don't quote me on that. I think he did say that though, that he wasn't ready for him. But Deji, he's back on the Supercard, and it's gonna be very telling to see what they want to do with Deji, based on the career or based on the opponent choice that they give him for this card. Because if they give him another bum, another cherry pick, then for sure he's because it's his team that's also picking out the opponent, and they're probably gonna make the excuse that it's because Deji hasn't fought in over a year, ring rust, which I understand. But let's say Pineda called him out.
Pineda would beat him.
Pineda called him out. You know how good of a fight that would be? Deji would say no because Pineda's too big for him.
Yeah.
So that fight would not happen. But Pineda called him out. I mean, you have a lot of big names in his weight class. Ed Matthews is there too, but Ed Matthews
B-Dave as well?
What
about B-Dave?
B-Dave retired, I think. He said he announced
him.
He retired.
He was a roadman.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite ones.
Too.
Yeah, bro. B-Dave was so cool. but also B Dave called out Deji sometimes, and people were saying, "Oh, you're not him. You're not him." Bro, B Dave would have rolled over Deji. Any big name at that weight class beats Deji.
Yeah, and I think when you say, oh, you know, we don't have an opponent yet for Deji, I think there's a reason for that, because they're trying to be strategic. They're trying to get, bro. I'm telling you right now, I will not be surprised. They're gonna get some guy that for sure Deji can beat, because if he fights anybody even remotely challenging or competitive, like a Pineda obviously, Pineda is not great at all, right, by any measurement, but he does have, you know, he's got a lot of confidence, especially in his wins now. Him against Deji, I'm guaranteeing right now, Pineda will win. So I think Deji's gonna go for a little low ball. That's my opinion.
Well, I feel like it doesn't even matter if he goes for a low ball. Look what happened against his second loss. It was against a TikToker.
Yeah.
Right?
And a debut to TikToker.
In a debut, like some guy who just never did any combat sports.
And he was 18 years old as well.
Just turned 18.
Like, bro, come on.
It was a bigger upset than Anthony Joshua against Andy Reese.
I would have loved to have seen those odds. It must have been like 20-1.
They were crazy.
So it doesn't even matter what type of opponent. Like they're being very what do you call it? Nitpicking on their opponent for Deji. You said something, Pablo, about people kind of like turning on Deji or almost being woken up to the idea of like, is Deji actually a hidden gem? And to be honest, I'm one of those guys who I've turned on Deji. You know, this is a guy who I used to follow back when he was just doing YouTube and whatnot. But I turned on Deji, or I wasn't sold on Deji after that Vinny Hacker's loss. I was like, there's no way you're gonna lose against a guy who is a TikToker making his debut in any combat sports, who has never picked up a pair of gloves, and you're gonna lose against some dude like that does the TikTok dances, the sad boy era face thing that Vinny was going for, and you lost against that dude in a Mike Tyson suit outfit type of attire aspire.
Yeah, after that loss, I was so surprised that people were still sticking with Deji. You know what I'm saying? I was blown away. I was like, come on, guys. What is this? You know, you after that performance against an 18-year-old, like, pretty boy kid that does TikToks, you're still going to back him up, and people still do.
They do.
And, you know, so, I don't know. The only people I believe that Deji can beat are, like, Fuzis of the influencer boxing.
Yeah, people are saying, oh, the only fight that makes sense for Deji is a Alex Wasabi rematch, which it'd be good. The only people are saying that's the only viable option for Deji, for him to at least get some credibility to his name. I mean, Vinny Hacker said he's never going to fight again. Fuzi is gone. The only good name, right? Jake Paul's way out of his level.
Nah, bro, he can beat Jake Paul in the rematch.
Oh gosh, I remember he said it too. He'd want a rematch against.
He continues to say it. He continues to praise. I don't know. I don't know if he's delusional or if he's just trying to rage bait.
It might be both or something. But yeah, Deji, Wasabi, the same Wasabi. That's the Wasabi is still there. I mean, Wasabi said he has like 1-2 more fights than him that he really wants to do. I mean, he is like 30 years old, and I guess he doesn't like fighting like that either. So yeah, he said he has like 1 or 2 more fights than them, and for sure a Deji fight would be the one that gets him going too. So it's all up to Deji and his team. Deji was also recently in a podcast with Joe Weller, and Deji had been calling out Joe Weller too, calling them names. And in this podcast, him and Joe Weller were talking, you know, just bantering and chatting. And then Joe Weller pressed him about it. He said, oh, like, what about us fighting? You know, like, you're saying all this. And then they're just like, oh, but, you know, if we were to fight and if we were to get in the ring, I wouldn't go in to kill you. Like, what are you going in for? Like, I wouldn't go in to hurt you. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? You were talking all this smack about Joe Weller, how you'd beat him, you KO him, you whatever. And then when he confronts you about it, then you're just like, I wouldn't go into, like, you know, hurt you at all.
That's such a weak excuse. Such a weak excuse.
What is he gonna go do then?
Win.
Kiss him?
Yeah, he's gonna go kiss him, give him a hug. He's like, hey, Joe Weller, my older brother beat you, but, you know, I fuck with you. Like what?
And also, like, him calling out Joe Weller, who Joe Weller has not fought since 2018. I mean, it tells you a lot about the people that Deji's aiming for. A guy who's semi-retired from influencer boxing, a guy who doesn't even fight at all. So, it's very interesting to see what kind of route they're gonna take with Deji based on his opponent selection. I like how we just started slandering Deji's name for the.
Well, I mean,
It's
here's
necessary, man. It's necessary. Like,
yeah, we gotta wake the people up. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, but look, yeah, we were just talking negatively about Deji, but if I'm gonna be honest, I believe Deji should have one more fight, and that fight should be in November, and he should fight Alex Wasabi. Win or lose, he should just retire, because if he loses, then it's gonna wake people up and say, yeah, he was never that guy. But if he were to win, all is forgiven, and he retires.
and then he's like, oh, I could have done this to every single rematch. I could have beat them, but my fighting days are behind me.
That's
Some
right.
stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the Deji Wasabi rematch would probably be more likely in 2025. I mean, we're getting close to November, and the event is on November 28th. I don't think Wasabi, if they haven't contacted Wasabi by now, they're not going to contact him for the November fight. So, and I'm sure he wants a big camp for that as well. I mean, it'd be one of influencer boxing's most anticipated rematches.
Okay.
It'd be good. It'd be a good one. I mean, Wasabi's coming off a good form. I mean, he did drop Pineda. He dropped Pineda, man.
Yeah, he
he
did.
dropped Pineda.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you. And then he got dropped by DB Dave.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's a fight that seems more likely for 2025. And if they're cooking right, they can make Deji against Wasabi headliner in the spring sometime next year.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to keep going over the cards, or do you guys want to just end it off by the Deji slander
I
that
think
we
we covered the Deji slander.
Yeah.
I think we
I
did
think that
good
was
on
the
the
goal.
I think those were the main ones I really want to talk about, to be honest. But let us know down below. First off, let us know about Jack Catterall. Do you guys think that he does well against any of the champions at 140? Do you think he is a future world champion at 140? And who do you want to see him next? As it for Regis Prograis, do you think he has still enough gas in the tank to continue pursuing a career, or not career, but his dream of becoming a 3-time world champion? Also, let us know about this Quatar Supercard for Misfits Boxing. Are you guys excited for it? It is different. It is in Qatar. It's the first influencer fight in Qatar, headlined by Gib and Slim. Let us know about your thoughts about the whole undercard being announced and the return of Deji. Did we go too hard on him? Do you think we went a little too light on him? Let us know down below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all forms of social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. The best way to get in touch with us and to communicate with us and talk about boxing in general is via our server. Everything that I mentioned is in the link in the description below. But this was Pablo, and I'm with Rudo and Asa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.